Chad and granddaughter Kate. It's a terrible draw. But that's why they invent airplanes. When Susan first brought this up, she was fully on board. She thought this is the greatest idea in the world. Dave was a little reticent. He wasn't ready to sign up. And they spent some time. They listed the positives and the negatives and the pluses and minuses. And pretty soon they just couldn't come to an agreement. So they decided for a family vote. Now, those of you with traditional families understand how that works. One woman, one vote, pack your bags, David. I do understand, however, that Dave is starting to warm up. And I think part of the reason is Dave has found himself back in his youth. Television in the 50s and 60s, projecting how he's going to be. Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone. I mean, I don't think it could be any better than that, right? And Susan, this may mean that David gets that horse he wants. Dave, I was going to get you a cap gun, but I understand they're illegal for sale in California. Before anybody thinks California's completely wacko, you can still buy an assault rifle. Susan, don't feel left out. For all of you that enjoy selfies, I'm sure that selfies will be available with Dave and Susan and anybody else that you choose to take. So congratulations. I'm sure you're going to have a good time with these. And by the way, Susan, this fits much better than those silly cheese heads Dave makes you wear when you I'm absolutely sure that every one of us in this room is an optimist. You know, otherwise we wouldn't be here. Otherwise we wouldn't be investing our time and our treasure to try and improve things around Ventura County. But as optimists, we tend to remember out the pleasant and forget the not so pleasant. And just for a moment, I want to lay the scenery for when we hired Dave Smith, because there were quite a few little not so pleasant episodes that we were experiencing at the United Way of Ventura County. The first, in 10 years or perhaps a little bit better, we had up to 6 executive directors. 3 of those executive directors were interim executive directors. Now, what that means is that not all the transitions were particularly smooth. In fact, I might maintain that none of the transitions were particularly smooth. And every time you have a transition that doesn't go well, you're going to alienate somebody. You're going to alienate a donor. You're going to alienate an agency head, any number of things. So every single one of those situations have to be started back up again. We were also dealing with the fallout from the president of the United Way of America. This fellow took huge privileges with his expense account, his personal salary. In fact, they were so egregious, the guy ended up going to prison. And we spent a considerable amount of time talking about the fact that the United Way of America was totally different than the United Way of Ventura County. Now, those were the things we knew. Those were the things, the background we knew before we hired Dave Smith. There were 2 other issues that we knew about that could create some fairly significant problems. The first was we were being pushed into a lawsuit where we would have to defend our inclusiveness policy. Now that sounds absolutely bizarre. Can you imagine defending something that makes so much sense? And it seems like it should have been easy, but it wasn't. There were all sorts of divisive things going on, and it took a good deal of skill to get to the bottom of that. The other thing that had happened was we determined that our county really deserved a different service than we had been giving these folks for years. We needed to change everything we had been done in the past. Our agencies now have the ability to run their own fundraisers, to run their own funds. What they needed was somebody to come in and fill the voids, fill them out with partnerships and collaborations, and try and make sure they were successful with some of these different plans. It was with that background that we hired Dave Smith to come in and take care of the United Way of Ventura County. We were delighted. We were absolutely delighted. Many of us knew this fellow as a newspaper man. All of us knew this man as an incredibly intelligent, well-written fellow. We were so excited. But we had absolutely no idea whether or not he could run a United Way, certainly a United Way of Ventura County. And we should have realized, and we realize right now, we were given a gift. Dave Smith has some unusual management characteristics. Like most newspaper men, you never know where he stands. But he sits there and talks with you and probes you and gathers your opinion and helps you out with your opinion and perhaps helps you say it better. By the time you're through talking to Dave Smith, you say, by God, that guy's smart. He agreed with everything I said. Never once in my conversations with Dave Smith during his 13 years at the or at the United Way of Ventura County, did I hear him say,
boy, whenever I was at the Daily Planet, we did it this way.
or I used to do it this way at the Star Free Press. It wasn't there. And like every good manager, all the good things that happened to the United Way of Ventura County, he gave credit to others, to his staff, to his board, to his board chair. So refreshing. Armed with those techniques, he was able to dispel us from all the negatives that had taken place at the United Way of America. He was able to guide us through a very divisive lawsuit dealing with our inclusiveness policy. And perhaps most importantly, we were able to change direction of this 50 to 60-year-old organization and change it from an agent of collection to an agent of change. Couldn't be more proud. Several weeks ago, we hosted a celebration. The celebration was the 9th annual Spirit of the Community Award, offering awards to the community. I've never seen anything like this in my 20 or 25 years with the United Way. Everybody was excited to be there. Everybody was excited to be attached to the United Way, and it hadn't been that way, but they were now. When Dave stood up, obviously he got a standing ovation. But the standing ovation wasn't out of guilt or it wasn't out of need. It was to say, thank you, Dave Smith. Thank you for leaving us much better than we were. Thank you for what you did to the United Way. Thank you for what you did for all of us in Ventura County. I have kind of one last picture that I'd like to leave you with. And that is in 30 years from today, Dave is standing in front of St. Peter, in front of those golden gates, pearly gates, or whatever else they are. And Dave Smith is standing there, and St. Peter looks down at him, and he says, Dave Smith, is that your real name? He says, Dave Smith, I want you to take a minute and think about why I should let you into heaven. So Dave thought about the wonderful years he had with his two delightful daughters, Cynthia, Kelly, son-in-law Chad, and granddaughter Kate. He thought about his horse and how much fun he had with that horse. And he switched over and he thought about the 30 years he spent in the newspaper business. And lastly, he started to think about all the separate parts of the United Way, and especially the first 3 years where he was dealing with lawsuits and individuals that were not real happy for one reason or another, and new board members, and trying to restructure this and that. And in the middle of all this thought process, St. Peter said, enough. They rang the bells, they played the trumpets, they said, welcome to heaven. God knows you spent enough time in hell.
What a terrific tribute. Bill, thank you very much. I'm now going to invite up Susan England. She's the Vice President of Community Impact, United Way of Ventura County. Susan, are you ready? The floor is yours.
Dave, on behalf of the staff, we want to thank you for your leadership over the past 13 years. You've been a champion for community impact, as we've all heard, and your commitment to the nonprofit community and enhancing the lives of Ventura County residents has been outstanding. As a leader of United Way, you've engaged in all aspects of our organization, whether it's strategizing with the Community Investment Cabinet, participating in a focus team discussion about measuring impact, attending a Girls' Night Out event, thanking volunteers at a Day of Caring project, meeting with elected officials to advance to advocate for systems change, or informing the community and telling our story through an op-ed in the newspaper. For your support and encouragement, we thank you and we wish you well. And no doubt, we will miss those 6 a.m. emails. We will miss those 6 a.m. emails.
Yes. I'm going to miss them too.
As many of you know, and as already been mentioned, Dave and Susan are heading to Kentucky where their daughters, son-in-law, and granddaughter reside. And so we thought it very appropriate to have a message from Kentucky. So if someone in the back will dim the lights, we're going to take a quick trip to Kentucky.
Have you ever spent any time in Kentucky?
Kentucky.
Yeah. Yeah, no?
I went, you know what, I went to Churchill Downs.
Oh, you did? I was just at Pony Finals this weekend in Lexington, Kentucky, and I just have to say to everybody in Lexington, Kentucky, you are the smartest people on the planet because that is the prettiest place on earth.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God.
California weather. Beaches. And seafood. But as you can see, we have that all here too.
The Smith family is no stranger to moves. Over the years, we've experienced life in many parts of the country, embracing some more than others. Mom, Dad, and I have truly loved our many years in Ventura County, despite the distance away from Christine, Chad, and Kate. On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you who have brought the blessings of joy, laughter, and friendship to Mom and Dad in the past 20-plus years. I know they will miss you. Mom and Dad, we wish you a happy retirement in one more new place. And we look forward to many happy, healthy years together. Okay, do you have it on? Here's me get You know what would be funny? Maybe we should do outtakes. That'd be over 20 years. I can't see. Me
That's it.
I did? Are you serious? I'm sorry. My eyes were Mom and Dad, we wish you a happy retirement and all the happy
You've got a lot to look forward to today. A great looking family. Well, I guess it's now time to hear from Mr. Smith. Dave?
It's not me. Yeah, I don't know how much of this I'm gonna actually worked on these remarks. I'm not sure how much I'm gonna go through. I'm sure you're all ready for, wow, what a crowd. Whoa, a lot of people out there. Hi, Marianne. Finally made it. So thanks to all the kind remarks, generous comments. You too, Eric. Appreciate it. I think after 13 years with United Way, I think the video explains why it's time to move along to Kentucky. Kelly, Christine. We've called her the Great Kate since she was born. She's 12 years old now. She's a hoot. Chad. They didn't have a grand dog Peanut in the video. It's part of our family too. But on a serious note, before I decide what comments I'm going to share, I want to thank, when you're, those of you who, and most of you in the room have been involved with boards of directors, you know it's a challenge. And it's an opportunity too. It's a real challenge to satisfy. Hi Kevin, good to see you back there. Satisfy the direction, focus, mission, thoughts of a board of directors. I've been very fortunate in 13 years to have 12 tremendous board chairs, and I want to just comment about those board chairs because they have had a great deal to do with the success of the United Way in the time that I've been engaged with the organization. The board chairs who I've worked with, Carol Burho, she's not with us tonight. She had the wisdom to hire me. That's kind of a joke. Sam Vernalis, who used to be the commander of Naval Base Ventura County, died of cancer a few years ago. His dictionary did not include the phrase, "we can't do it." It was, "we can do it." And he made sure we did. Bill Kearney brought credibility to the organization as board chair.